Oh, baby. Hunter Brown versus Jacob deGrom was awesome. We'll break that down, preview week 9, and much more on a Kokomo Friday.
Alcantara, Soroka, you look so good in polka. Peralta, Manoa, bounce back for Aaron Giolito, Castillo, Yoshida, Mosu,
Happy Kokomo Friday and welcome in to Fantasy Baseball today on May 16th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White. Today on the show, we had an awesome duel between Hunter Brown and Jacob deGrom. We will preview week 9. And Scott, I have a mid-May pop quiz for you.
Ooh, is that supposed to be fun?
I think so. I hope so.
You laughed kind of menacingly there, so maybe it's not. Maybe you're trying to flunk me. You're trying to make me repeat the 3rd grade, aren't you, Frank?
I couldn't do Scotty Doesn't Know too many weeks in a row, so I had to alter it a little bit, I guess.
So now it's kind of the same thing, though, isn't it? We're just trying to prove how little I know. I don't know. No. Whatever.
It's multiple choice questions, though. Multiple choice questions. So we'll see. Should have a better chance. So
yeah,
we'll see.
I'm sure it'll be fun.
All right, let's jump in.
Oh my goodness gracious!
Oh my, Scott. So who do you want, Hunter Brown or Jacob deGrom?
Well, Frank, I think that we have talked a lot about Hunter Green and how he needs to join the elite ranks at starting pitcher. Obviously, he ended up going on the IL, but still, I think we've come to conclude that Hunter Green is now one of the elite starting pitchers in fantasy. We've been slower to come around for Hunter Brown, and I think it's time, because after this start, he is actually the number 1 starting pitcher in fantasy, which is something Hunter Green hasn't been able to claim this year. And Hunter Brown, he already had his strengths. He was consensus top 30 starter drafted, at least, maybe even a little higher than that. And he was very solid last year, former top prospect, all of that. Everything's gotten better this year. Everything. He's at the actual start. He pitched 8 innings, gave up 1 earned run on 3 hits, no walks, 9 strikeouts. Total gem. But that's all he's been doing. His ERA for the year now is 1.43. His whip is 0.83. All the expected stats are great. All but one of his starts has gone 6 innings or more. So he's giving you volume too. The K per 9 is up to 10.6. That's compared to 9.5 last season. The swinging strike rate is up 1.5 points from last year. He was always a pretty good ground ball pitcher. He was always exceptional at getting weak contact. It's gotten even better this year. 85 miles per hour on average. That's 97th percentile. Just in every way Hunter Brown could improve, he has. And at an early enough stage of his career that it's not unexpected he'd make a leap like this. So I have him, even coming into this start, I had Hunter Brown 12th among starting pitchers rest of season. He's right behind Corbin Burns, who we all have our concerns about. Maybe I could get him up another spot. But even 12, we're talking about number 1 starter territory in fantasy.
Yeah, I moved him up to 13, and that's ahead of Burns just because I moved Burns down a little bit. I have him at SP 15, but yeah, Hunter Brown is definitely deserving of being in that SP1 range. And I think some people would probably argue that he can be higher. I mean, based on how he's pitched, the number 1 starting pitcher in fantasy, there's an argument for him to be a top 5, top 8 starting pitcher rest of season. And if he continues to do this,
I'm looking at who I have ahead of him. So 5 is Reagan's. I wouldn't want to put him ahead of Reagan's, but I could see how someone would make that argument. The top 4, I think, is pretty impregnable still at this point.
I have Crochet at 6, so we do differ a little bit there.
Okay.
I think there have been, velocity just kind of fluctuating and weird quotes from Crochet and, how will he hold up all season? I just have some slight questions about him. So I do feel a little bit better about Reagan's. But yeah, I mean, once you get outside that top like 3 or 4, it's a little bit open, right? Like Chris Sale hasn't been exactly himself. He's been better recently, but, hasn't been Cy Young Chris Sale yet. And just talked about Crochet. Yamamoto has looked a little bit more vulnerable recently, but obviously has had an amazing season as well. All these guys have been good, but Hunter Brown has been the best. We'll see if he can keep it up. What about on the other side? That's right. This was a pitcher's duel.
It's time to duel.
I like now that people are tweeting at me when there's a pitcher's duel, like, play the drop. Although we're on Twitter, so I'll just send out
I love it. I love the drops.
Like that. Jacob deGrom, 8 shutout innings, 5 hits, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts, 15 whiffs on 96 pitches, 10 of those on the slider, 5 on the fastball, and he outdueled Hunter Brown in this one. Actually wound up with the win. First start of at least 8 innings pitched since April of 2021 for deGrom. He leaned on the slider more in this start. He threw it over 50% of the time. That pitch was awesome. Obviously had 10 of those 15 whiffs. Velocity up 1 mile per hour in this one. So we don't want him to push it too far, but that seems, within the range of outcomes in a normal start here for Jacob deGrom. And over his last 6, he has a 1.49 ERA, a .85 whip, 40 strikeouts to 5 walks over 36 and a third innings. He has been really, really good. But he hasn't been Jacob deGrom, Scott. He hasn't been, clearly the best pitcher on a per inning basis. I don't have him on any of my fantasy teams, but I would imagine that anyone who has him is willing to sacrifice him being all out the best pitcher in baseball by far for being maybe the 12th best pitcher in baseball. And hopefully you get him for 150 innings. That feels like a pretty good trade-off.
It's a fine idea in theory. There's no way of knowing if it's actually going to turn out that way. We were talking before, like, obviously, me especially, I was raising the possibility of Jacob deGrom being a bust pretty emphatically this year. But it's the sort of bust call where it's going to look wrong until all of a sudden it's right. Because it's like, it's not that I thought he was going to be bad. I thought he was going to be good. It's just a question of how long is he going to be good. And yeah, in theory, taking a little velocity off might help the arm to hold up better. And he has lost something. He has given up something. He used to be like a 20% swinging strike rate guy, which is insane, untouchable. Now he's like 14%, which is still excellent. So he has given up quite a bit, but he had a lot he could give up. And so I'd say it's gone well so far. I was noticing only 3 of his starts this year, including this 8-inning effort, were 6+ innings. So it's been a lot of short outings for Jacob deGrom. And yet he's managed to win 4 straight, even though the starts have been on the shorter side. And even though the Rangers offense has been horrendous so far. So he's had some good win luck, I would say, some good win-loss luck that makes him feel even more valuable. But he's pitched well, and he is pitching well. And as long as it continues, you're going to be happy with him. At some point, might you consider selling him just so you can dump that worry onto somebody else? Yeah, and maybe this is a good time to explore it after clearly an ace caliber performance, 8 shutout innings. But the idea is you're selling high if you do that. So like if you're going to dump the worry onto somebody else, you need to get a return that makes it inconsequential to you whether or not deGrom gets hurt. It maybe he stays healthy the rest of the year miraculously. Okay, you got something so good for him that whatever. You cashed him in already, no big deal. So you don't want to sell him short. But you might be able to pull off that kind of trade now as everybody gets kind of sanguine about the health risk since he hasn't gotten hurt yet.
Mm-hmm. Would you trade Jacob deGrom for Chris Sale or Dylan Cease? We both rank those guys higher, but there's some volatility with Cease obviously in the profile, and Cease has Sale has his own injury risks as well, I guess. I just don't really know what a trade looks like for deGrom.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's kind of weird one.
I make far less trades than I talk about. I used to be a trading kind of fool. You know, I wrote a big article about this a couple of years ago. It used to be a lot easier to make trades. Everybody was more eager, and that was one competitive advantage I felt like I had in playing fantasy. But I don't feel like that advantage exists anymore. And so I am often paralyzed when it comes to negotiating trades, because you raise a good point. Like, I do rank Cease and Sale higher than deGrom. Is it an order of magnitude higher that I'd be willing to make that swap, or is it just trading, or is it just rearranging potentially high-end pitchers with obvious glaring concerns? You know, is that really what a sell high trade looks like? And so I guess the sort of trade I was imagining is less a pitcher for pitcher deal.
Gotcha.
But
so maybe a struggling top 3 round hitter like a Matt Olson or something like that.
Well, in theory, he wouldn't even have to be struggling. Like, it doesn't have to be a combo sell high, buy low scenario. A true sell high would get you somebody who you don't really worry about. I mean, I have some. I think Olson's going to be fine, but I'm not totally sure of that. You know, he struggled for most of last season too, came on really strong at the end, but yeah, it's I don't think that's a totally worry-free acquisition, and I'd want to buy low without giving up an asset as big as deGrom, if in an ideal world.
Yeah, and you don't have to trade deGrom. It's like we talk about all these players, sell high, obviously cashing in on the highest possible. And I don't know, maybe this isn't the peak of his powers this season. Maybe he'll get even better from here. But obviously we've talked about the risk ad nauseum for Jacob deGrom. So you've heard it all before. If you're someone who's risk averse, you probably if you have Jacob deGrom, you probably really liked him and you want him and you probably don't want to trade him. So, but if you are risk averse, maybe
I did get him in the podcast league because nobody would take him for many rounds.
That's true.
I wound up with one of my biggest bust picks. It's gone well so far. I don't know. Somebody make me an offer for Jacob deGrom.
Make him an offer he can't refuse. Let's take our first break. Before we do that, just a reminder to download and follow our 10-minute podcast, FBT Express, Fantasy Baseball Today Express, wherever you listen to this podcast. And big thanks to those watching us live. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe on YouTube if you haven't already. Let's take that break, and we'll be back right after this.
From the first swing to the final hole, recap the PGA Championship with Clubhouse Report. Thursday on CBS Sports Network.
Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball Today. And before we get to the news and notes, just want to highlight a few other big performances from Thursday. Very small slate of action, but we did get some big games. Big day for the Lows and the Lows, all of them combined. Josh Lowe made his return, leading off against a right-handed pitcher. He went 3 for 5 with his first home run of the season, so back with a bang. 67% rostered, Scott. Do you think that number needs to be higher? Because I'm not entirely sure that Josh Lowe will play against lefties.
Yeah, but there's a ton of upside here. And yeah, I think it needs to be higher. I could see how in some 3 outfielder leagues, particularly points leagues, where you're not as motivated by stolen bases and where the everyday at bats are more critical, I could see how maybe in those shallower leagues, it just might not have space for him. And that's fine. But there's certainly the upside for him to matter in those formats too. 5 outfielder leagues, any leagues where stolen bases are of real consequence, I think absolutely pick up Josh Lowe. And, there's a potential for a lot more here than just stolen bases. It's just that's probably the most reliable part of his skill set. Looked good on the rehab assignment. Short though it was, hit a couple home runs, walked once a game on average. Yeah, I think we'll see how much he plays, but so far so good for Josh Lowe.
2 of the most added outfielders on CBS right now are Trent Grisham and Javier Baez. Would you take Josh Lowe over both of those?
Definitely over Baez. Grisham
is a tough one, man. He's a tough one to figure out right now. How long will this last? Will the playing time keep up? It's tough.
Of the players with a dozen or more homers, he's the only one who's not universally rostered, more or less. And he's been doing it all year. The expected stats back it up. I think if he wasn't part of like this 4-man outfield rotation the Yankees have, obviously Judge doesn't come out of the lineup, but all the others do, then everybody would have Grisham by now. I have Grisham as the, spoiler alert, number 3 sleeper hitter for the upcoming week. So maybe for that reason, I should say Grisham over Lowe. But if stolen bases are a higher priority for you than home runs at this point, maybe that tips the scales toward Lowe.
All right, let's take a look at this. Oh, no. There was, I wanted to mention Brandon Lau before I move on. Brandon Lau, 3 for 5 with a double dong in this game. He also had 4 RBI. It's been a slow start, only hitting .220 with a 645 OPS. Some of the underlying plate discipline stuff looks pretty bad for Brandon Lau. Gosh, this is talking about both of these guys together is it's a little frustrating. But the quality of contact is still awesome here. The expected stats look very good. If you held on this long, Scott, I think it's a very, very clear hold or maybe even buy low on a Brandon Lau right now.
Yeah, as seems to be the case at every position, I've been looking for excuses to move players down at second base. And I probably have Lau lower than I'd like even. But the point is I've resisted really like dragging him down because I see those underlying numbers and they're all basically what they always are for Brandon Lau. In fact, on average, he's been hitting the ball a little harder this year. So it seemed like eventually he'd heat up. 3 straight multi-hit games now, a couple home runs in this one. He also, kind of like Lau doesn't play every game. Plays a lot against lefties, but not every game. So that holds him back a little bit too. But he's healthy. He's maybe the best pure slugger at the position and is showing it now. So, yeah, enjoy it while it lasts.
All right, big night for the Dodgers. They destroyed the A's 19-2 on 18 hits. They had 5 home runs in this game. Ohtani is just so locked in. He's been a monster in May.
Probably should have been the first overall pick.
Yeah, I think
probably should have.
Well, Judge, I don't know. It's like who's better? I don't.
Probably should have been Ohtani. Because he's been running. He's been running just as frequently too.
10 steals versus a 400 batting average. Although Judge is going to keep that up, obviously.
It's frustrating because, Judge had the historic 2022 season. Following year, I'm like, well, he's obviously the number 1 overall pick. Doesn't live up to it. Ronald Acuna has the historic 2023 season. Following year, I'm like, well, he's obviously the number 1 pick. Doesn't live up to it. Ohtani has the historic 2024 season. Following year, maybe he's not the number 1 overall pick.
Well, we had some injury concerns.
I mean, there was the best case against it for those 3. And so, I can't beat myself up too much, but it's just just my luck,
Updated numbers for Ohtani in May. He's hitting .358 with 8 home runs, 18 RBI, a 1369 OPS in 13 games so far in the month. Dalton Rushing, a successful debut here. He was batting 7th in the lineup. He went 2 for 4 in this one with a walk and 3 runs scored. So, I mean, right away, he looks good. I just wonder, Scott, if he plays twice a week and he's just mashing, they've got to figure out a way, right? I know we liked Conforto coming into the season. He's been really bad.
Yeah, I'd be totally on board with it. It just doesn't seem like they are. And I wrote about this as the lead for Prospects Report, which came out today. If we take them at their word and they're emphatically saying, front office and manager both, emphatically saying, no, he is not. Dalton Rushing is not a utility player. He is a catcher, and that's how we want him to develop. They're both emphatically saying that, but like I said yesterday, that just seems like malpractice because you caught Will Smith locked up for another 8 years.
Yeah.
Rushing isn't overtaking him. You got Ohtani locked up for the rest of his career. So DH isn't a possibility. Like, you're really going to squander this talent as a backup catcher? It just it feels like something will give at some point, especially since, this isn't like Drake Baldwin in Atlanta, who's only played catcher. They've exposed rushing to different positions in the minors as if preparing for this possibility, and now they don't want to do it. It's hard to reconcile, and part of me thinks if rushing's crushing it, they'll give, but I can't say that for sure.
Still just 2 catcher leagues for now, right?
Yeah, he's my 24th catcher.
Yeah, I think I have him right around 21, 22, so a pretty similar range there as well. Max Muncy had a big game, and he's coming around 3 for 4 with his 3rd home run, had 4 RBI in this game. He is 46% rostered. Does that number need to be higher, Scott? I feel like we need to see more from him before we maybe start re-adding him.
It was that Muncy you're talking about?
Yeah.
The real Max Muncy?
Dodgers Muncy. Although
the real Max Muncy.
You know what? If the other Max Muncy was up for this game, it would have been Muncy versus Muncy. That would have been awesome.
I think of it like the Ghostbusters cartoons, like some other cartoon company beat the Peter, Ray, Egon Winston Ghostbusters they beat them and made a Ghostbusters cartoon first. So they got to be Ghostbusters, but then they wanted to make a cartoon after the movie. So that became the real Ghostbusters. So I'm saying this is the real Max Muncy. How do you like that analogy? It's probably too deep of a cut. But anyway, yeah, we do need to see more from Muncy. Like, the track record is so steady during his time with the Dodgers that I think probably he'll come around, but he's getting older, and there have been small signs of decline in recent years. So I can't say for sure.
Mm-hmm. And last name I wanted to bring up here, I don't know, man. He might be a dude. Ha-Seong Kim, 3 for 3 with 2 walks, a double, 4 runs, 2 RBI, and a stolen base in this game. So just a huge game all around here. And he's now hitting 429. He's got an OPS over 1,000, 1 homer, 3 steals. It's a small sample. He's only played 12 games, but the Dodgers, they're going to have a great problem on their hands here, because between Teoscar coming back, Tommy Edman going to be back. They're hoping next week. If not, maybe the week after that. They kind of have a luxury here, so they can kind of wait until those guys are completely healthy. But when everyone's healthy, Scott, I really don't know where everyone's going to play.
It is a predicament, isn't it? I was still thinking about the Ghostbusters. I'm sorry. What team are we talking about?
We're talking about.
I was trying to fake my way through that, but I'm not.
We're talking about
not smooth enough.
Ha-Seong Kim and the Dodgers, and everyone who's due to return. Pages is killing it too. So Conforto is probably gone. He's out of the mix. But you have Teoscar in one outfield spot. Maybe so. Teoscar, Edman, Pages, I guess you can go with.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess you can go with Ha-Seong Kim at second. I mean, does that work? Am I forgetting somebody?
No,
Oh yeah,
the only one who's been added is
James Outman is gone too. Then
James Outman was never happening.
I guess it's just Conforto is probably just becomes a bench bat.
Yeah.
Right?
Now, I think in between then and now, Kim could backslide and Conforto could heat up. Like, that's possible. But if it were to happen today, if they were to bring Edman back today, putting Conforto, who's only on a 1-year deal, by the way, putting him on the bench seems like the right choice.
But man, Kim just looks so dynamic, right? Some of the most added second basemen right now: Brett Beatty, Daniel Schneemann, Colt Keith is 41% rostered. Jake Cronenworth. I think I'd still take Cronenworth just because we know what we're getting there. Gabriel Arias. I think I would take the shot on Kim over all those other names. Over Beatty, over Schneemann, over Keith, over Arias, over Brooksley. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the upside is more interesting in Kim's case, but I don't want to completely abandon my whole all my priors on Ha-Seong Kim because of a couple weeks in the majors. Like he walked twice today. It was his first 2 walks during that time. So there are still questions here about how hard he hits the ball. Not very. About whether he's a disciplined enough hitter to that pitchers won't take advantage of his light hitting. Obviously, he comes with some degree of provenness, but in an inferior league, and we've seen a lot of players come from that Korean league over here and just they're nowhere near as good. So I don't think it's. I'm not ready to declare a final verdict on Ha-Seong Kim, but if we're only saying based on what he's shown so far, does he deserve more chances? Does he deserve to stay in the Dodgers lineup? I would say, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we're in agreement there. All right, let's get into the news and notes. Spencer Strider will return next week against the Nationals. Bryce Elder was optioned to the minors, which means Grant Holmes will also stick around in the rotation. Scott, are you good to just get Strider back out there?
Well, I think the more prudent course of action would be to give him a start, especially since in that sim game, his velocity was down a couple miles per hour. And it was interesting. I was reading Brian Snitker's comments about that. And he said it's because he hasn't pitched in about a month and it's going to take a little while to build up the velocity again. And yet they're sticking him right back in the rotation. So either Snitker was just given a BS answer, or they're going to accept greatly reduced velocity from Strider in his return. I don't mean to be unkind to Snitker because you got to give some kind of answer when they give that question. And he's probably relying on years of experience with that answer. So maybe BS isn't fair, but I am thinking they wouldn't activate him if they didn't think the stuff was ready. So probably it'll go fine. And I would have a hard time resisting the urge to put Strider back in my lineup as much as I've waited for him.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. If I have him, I'm playing him.
Right. That's what I probably am too. But my more rational side is saying if I have a great alternative, maybe give him a start first to see how it goes.
The Twins optioned Simeon Woods Richardson to AAA and are expected to recall Zebby Matthews to start Sunday against the Brewers. 24 years old. He impressed us a ton this spring and in 7 starts at AAA. 193 ERA, a 119 whip, 10.5 K per 9. He's getting ground balls. Swinging strike rate is okay. It's kind of more average at this point, but 35% rostered, widely available. Scott, do you think Zebby Matthews is a must-add in fantasy?
I wouldn't go as far as must-add. I was hyping him up a lot coming out of spring training and early this season. He was very high in the prospects to stash, really up until the point where David Festa got called up instead. And ever since that happened, the whiff rate for Zebby Matthews has kind of collapsed at AAA. It looks like the velocity improvement from this spring is still there. But his last 4 starts, again, this is against AAA hitters, only a 9% swinging strike rate, which is terrible. So that's more than half of his AAA season so far. And we're talking about a guy in Zebby Matthews who had a 6.69 ERA in his 9 major league starts last year. So a 4-start sample with a 9% swinging strike rate, of course, isn't definitive, but anytime you're talking about an unknown, which is what he is, you kind of have to look at how things have gone for him recently. He's a work in progress, and how's the progress going? A little underwhelmed. That said, I know a lot of people are itching for more pitchers to pick up off the waiver wire. I have moved him. I think he's just outside the top 80 in my rankings, so that puts him in the rosterable range in 12-team leagues. But it's not. I'm not adding Zebby Matthews with the same enthusiasm that I might have a month ago.
How would you rank Ryan Weathers, Logan Henderson, Zebby Matthews, and Cade Horton?
I think you just did. I think it just did in the same order. I'll repeat it. Weathers, Henderson, Zebulon, which is his actual middle name where Zebby comes from. And
Wait, that's his middle name, Zebulon?
Daniel Zebulon Matthews. Yep.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Reminds me of I think it's Dude, Where's My Car? Zoltan. Have you seen it, Scott?
I have not.
I mean, this is just so typical, right? It's just another, like, look, it's like cult classic, whatever. Cheesy comedy movie, which is basically all I've seen in my life.
Yeah, you like that real sophomore humor. All those movies that I was rolling my eyes at when they came out, and that was your jam. So you have that side covered, and then I have the actual like all-time classic kind of movies covered.
I want to make sure. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Dude, Where's My Car? I want to make sure I got that right, but you should go back and watch this, guy. I think it's pretty. I don't know how it's aged, but I know it was good at the time. I saw you tweet about David Festa too. Apparently, the Twins passed on him because he's dealing with arm fatigue, so that's why they did not call him up. Yordan Alvarez is still a few days away from returning to the lineup. He hit in the cage on Thursday, but remains out with that hand injury. Tyler Glasnow threw off flat ground on Thursday, but has no timeline to throw off of a mound. I did not see this until today, but apparently Ketel Marte left late Wednesday night due to stiffness in his hip. Actually, that might have been a day game. I don't know. But the removal was preventative, and they expect him to be in the lineup on Friday, hopefully. Byron Buxton and Carlos Correa both left Thursday after a nasty collision. Both are currently being checked for a concussion. Before Buxton left, he did hit his 10th home run in that game. TJ Friedl was out of the lineup on Thursday with that bone bruise in his right wrist, but hopes to return on Friday. Yu Darvish allowed 2 runs over 4 innings in his first rehab start at AAA on Wednesday. He got up to 51 pitches. 61% rostered. Scott, would you consider Yu Darvish a must stash?
He's pretty high on the list. I think I'd rather have Yu Darvish than Zebby Matthews.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Darvish was still solid last year.
Mm-hmm.
And, good team, obviously, with the Padres, so I get it. Speaking of the Twins, they have won 11 in a row. So wanted to give a shout out to them. That is, they have turned things around quite a bit there. On the other side, the Orioles were swept again. They are now 15-27 this season, which I don't know. They're probably gonna have to make a change at some point, which I don't know that it's technically Brandon Hyde's fault. It's just been a lot of injuries and they didn't really invest much in their pitching this offseason. But when you're bad and you're expected to be a playoff team, usually things like that do happen.
Though I will point out, none of the three of us, Chris Towers being the other, picked the Orioles to make the playoffs. We saw it coming.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that pitching and the injuries they had injuries in spring training, right? Like, we knew Grayson Rodriguez was not going to be there to start the year. And so,
the offense should get better. They have a bottom 5 offense so far, which is just like the pitching. I don't think that's going to get there, but the offense should come around.
Yeah, agreed. And I will be at the Subway Series game on Friday in Yankee Stadium, Scott. 1 to 10. How much should I boo Juan Soto first at bat?
Oh, 0. Come on.
Oh, are
Get
you
real.
kidding me, Scott?
Get real.
Come on, dude. He is a traitor. Dude,
is that really how Yankees fans feel about him?
I mean, I can't speak for all Yankee fans, but yeah, I'm hurt, Scott. I am hurt.
Yeah.
And he needs to feel my hurt.
So I think maybe the oh gosh, what's the word I'm trying to come up with? The analogy, the analog. Let's say the analog. As a Braves fan, I remember when Tom Glavine signed with the Mets, but he was like a lifelong Brave up to that point. 2 Cy Youngs, a World Series MVP.
Yeah, I mean, he helped you get everything done
and
at that point.
The division rivals. I understand Mets are kind of rivals with the Yankees, but Mets Braves, like that was the height of that rivalry. He signed with the Mets, and yeah, I went to his return to Atlanta and booed him extensively. But now all is forgiven.
Gotcha.
Time heals all wounds. But Soto, I mean, he was there for 1 year. I don't know. You had to realize there was a mercenary element to that.
No, I totally get it. And the way that I've explained this to my Mets fan friends is just imagine it was flipped, right? You traded a decent amount to get Soto for 1 year. So let's say he was on the Mets. He brought them to the World Series, helped bring them to the World Series. And then he leaves to go to the Yankees for like slightly more money and whatever, the added things, the incentives and all that stuff. But just imagine like the other way around. You'd feel pretty hurt that he was on your team for a year and he was awesome and then he just left. So that's how I feel. And so I will let him know on Friday. Let's take our final break. When we return, some waiver options, a pop quiz. We'll preview week 9 right after this. Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball today. Waiver wire pitchers from Thursday, Scott. We had quite a few nice performances here. AJ Smith-Shawver, Nick Martinez, Chris Paddock, Zach Littell, all varying levels of skill and interest, I think. But how are you ranking those 4 right now?
I mean, Smith-Shawver is far and away number 1, right?
Yeah.
I can find reasons to doubt him. Let's just get into how he pitched today. No earned runs in 6 innings, 2 hits allowed, 6 strikeouts against the Nationals. You could say because he got a career high 17 whiffs, so the swinging strikes were there. Because he got the 17 whiffs, only 2 hits, no runs. You could say it was his best start, except that just 2 turns ago he had 8 1-hit innings, right? So that it's hard to top that. But the point is, AJ Smith-Shawver has been trending up last 5 starts now. 1.50 ERA, 0.96 whip, exactly a K per inning. So I'd like the strikeouts to be higher. Apart from these 17 whiffs here, I'd like for the whiff rate to be higher. I'd like for the walks to be lower. I'd like for the quality of contact to be better. There are a lot of things I could point to say, I don't know for sure that AJ Smith-Shawver is breaking out. But the talent is pretty clear. And he just seems to get better with each passing turn. They've obviously decided to keep him around over Bryce Elder, who is going pretty well himself. I think Smith-Shawver at least needs to be rostered in all leagues at this point. You don't have to stake your whole season to him, because I could see how it could go badly, but you got to give him at least enough benefit of the doubt to roster him at this point.
Do you put him at the top of that list that we spoke about earlier? That had who was at the top of that list?
Logan Henderson was at the top.
There was someone else higher.
Oh, Ryan Weathers.
Yeah. You put Smith-Shawver at the top?
Those would be the only 2 on that list that, like, definitely I'd take Weathers over Smith-Shawver. Henderson,
I think I would take Smith-Shawver, but it is close.
Yeah, I think I lean Smith-Shawver just because he has more job security, it feels like. But it's close between him and Logan Henderson, yeah.
Other names here, Nick Martinez. He's been pitching well last 5 starts, 2.05 ERA, a 0.98 whip, but strikeouts haven't been there. Great matchup next week at the Pirates, so totally down with using Nick Martinez again next week.
I will point out for Martinez, because it's 3 straight good starts for him. And 3 straight starts with better than a 65% strike rate, which no walks between the 3 starts. So the main reason he took off late last season with the Reds is because he became this elite strike thrower. His strike throwing hasn't been quite at that level, but it's getting there. It's clearly gotten better over these last 3 starts. So I think Nick Martinez is in the streamable conversation again.
And anything to see here with Paddock or Zach Littell? On the surface, they've been better. Last 7 starts for Paddock, it's a 2.06 ERA, 0.92 whip. Zach Littell last 6 starts, 3.13 ERA, 1.07 whip. But when I dig in under the hood, it does not look good for either one.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to look good for Littell. The skill level isn't that high for him, but 5 of 6 quality starts now, and he's very efficient. He's a great strike thrower, one of the best. And he's made it work before. I think it keeps him being just a streamer in fantasy, maybe slightly better than a streamer. but there isn't high-end potential for Littell. And then Paddock, yeah, I have the same thoughts you do. I don't see. It still feels like there's too much downside risk there, even if he's pitched well recently.
And then it wasn't the best outing for Tomoyuki Sugano. He's still 70% rostered, and it looks like he's in line for 2 starts next week, Scott. Or are you using Sugano at Milwaukee, at Boston next week?
He's among the sleeper pitchers. And, I'm not wild about Sugano, but the fact is he has a 3.08 ERA and 103 whip even after this kind of mess start. So, yeah, 2-start week. I think I'm not saying you have to start Sugano. I think he is just in the points league only section of the 2-start pitcher rankings, but I'd probably use him if I had him.
If you're thinking more long term, I would drop Sugano for Smith, Shawver, Ryan Weathers, Logan
Henderson. And Henderson. Yeah.
Yeah, you do that. Okay.
I wouldn't. I don't think I'd drop him for Zebby Matthews, but I wouldn't criticize somebody who did too harshly.
All right, waiver wire hitters from Thursday. Jake Berger provided the only offense in that pitcher's duel, 2 for 3 with his 4th home run. He has at least 1 hit in all 4 games since returning. Just 3 strikeouts in 14 plate appearances. That's a 21% strikeout rate, 55% rostered. Drake Baldwin has now started 3 of the past 5 games for the Braves, and he keeps performing, had 3 hits in this one. I just wonder if we're headed for a 50-50 split. The way Baldwin's hitting, I don't know how they can keep him off the field. And then Addison Barger has been making some noise lately for the Blue Jays, 2 for 4 with his 2nd home run, and last 7 games hitting .321, 2 homers in OPS over 1,000. And the quality of contact looks awesome right now. Only 9% rostered. So these last 2, Scott, Baldwin and Barger, more deeper leagues. Jake Berger, 55%. Do you think those numbers need to be higher for any of those 3?
I think it needs to be higher for all of those 3. The upside is legitimate. Berger, we should know what it is. And he went to the minors for, 6 games, hit 2 home runs. The exit velocities looked great even before he got sent down. So I didn't have real concerns about him. And, he comes back and it's 2 balls, 110 miles an hour, 108 miles per hour, including the home run. It was, where is it? I've lost everybody's interest already. Both were over 108 miles per hour. Okay, so Berger, we know the story with him. If you don't want to add him in points leagues, I get it, but anything else, got to be added. Drake Baldwin, catcher is deep, so maybe in 1 catcher leagues, given the questions over his playing time, okay, you don't add him yet, but you're keeping an eye on it because the upside looks legit. And it did in the minors last year too. The exit velocity readings, the plate discipline readings were phenomenal, especially from like the All-Star break on. Like Drake Baldwin looked like the real deal. The only reason I didn't rank him higher is because I figured, he's blocked by Sean Murphy. Poor Sean Murphy, by the way. But yeah, it does seem like he's losing the grip on the starting role. Baldwin was hitting 2nd. He got 3 hits. He's clearly gaining trust in a lineup that's been hurting for offense. 50-50, that's probably what it'll max out as, the split between Baldwin and Murphy. But Baldwin being the left-handed hitter of the 2, it's not unthinkable that he could just become the primary catcher. It's not unthinkable.
Are you dropping Sean Murphy in 1 catcher leagues?
1 catcher leagues, unless it runs 16 deep, there's probably a better choice out there. Yeah. And then Barger, Addison Barger, only 9% rostered. And look, the surface level numbers, even with this 2 for 4 performance, they don't look great. Batting only .238.1. But yes, he did change his stance this year. He kind of, the Blue Jays tried to get him to change it last year, and he just wasn't comfortable with it. So he's gone back to his old stance. A stance, by the way, that in 2022 saw him hit .308 with 26 homers and a .933 OPS in the minors, Addison Barger. He has only batting .231, but with that stance, 94.5 mile per hour average exit velocity, 116.5 mile per hour max. I mean, these are numbers Gunnar Henderson can only dream of. And then all this is just with a 20% strikeout rate. So it's not like Barger's doing too much of that. Sitting against lefties. And again, the top line production isn't there yet. It just seems to me that with that data, it's eventually going to be. So at the very least, you need to be eyeing Barger and the box scores, Addison Barger, very closely.
All right, Scott, it's time for your mid-May pop quiz. Are you ready?
I am so ready.
All right. Among qualified center fielders, I am currently the biggest underachiever in expected WOBA.
Center fielders.
That's, don't worry. I'm going to give you multiple.
I don't think in terms of center fielders. Okay, go
I'm
ahead.
going to tell you who they are. So it's all good.
Underachiever in what?
Biggest underachiever in ex-WOBA right now.
Okay.
Luis Robert, Julio Rodriguez, Brenton Doyle, or Michael Harris?
I'm going to say Michael Harris.
And you, my friend,
Ah.
are wrong. It is. Whoa. What's happening here? Is there something happening? Scott, are you with me?
I no interruption on my end.
All right. Yeah. he tried. He tried to make an appearance.
We haven't seen him in a couple weeks.
Yeah, knock on wood. Brenton Doyle is actually the right answer here, who is currently hitting .216 with 4 home runs and 4 steals. I've been getting questions lately, people asking whether or not they could drop Brenton Doyle. He's got a 600 OPS. He has been vastly underperforming expected numbers. 261 XBA, 461 X slug. The plate discipline looks fine this year. The strikeout rate remains down 2 years in a row. He's got a 14% barrel rate and not much to show for it. So I am here to tell you to keep the faith on Brenton Doyle. Scott, what do you think?
I have nothing to add, and we are light on time. So let's just go.
Let's do it. I have the highest barrel rate among qualified shortstops. Despite that, I am slugging .370. Your potential answers here: Anthony Volpe, Willie Adames, Trevor Story, and Bo Bichette.
Ooh. Part of me wants to say Anthony Volpe because I know his barrel rate is much higher with that torpedo bat. But
they call him the Volpedo now. That's his
name. I'm going to say Bo Bichette because he played today and had a good game.
It is Willie Adames, a name we haven't really talked about. He's hitting .225, 5 home runs, .370 slug, a 676 OPS. First year in San Francisco. I think we all had him as a bust this season. Thought maybe, he was overvalued coming off that huge year last year. The underlying numbers don't look that much different. Yet
that was the case against him last year, as they didn't last year either.
The expected stats are they're a lot lower than last year. I don't know. Where are you at on Willie Adames?
Out. I'm out. Like to me, that's even worse if his barrel rate is that high and it hasn't led to production. That's a bad sign, not a good sign for me.
All right, next up, here we go. We've got, over the past 2 seasons, I have an OPS under 700. Your choices: Nolan Arenado, Brandon Nimmo, Taylor Ward, and Xander Bogaerts.
It's got to be Nolan Arenado.
Does it?
Is
Scotty
it?
Doesn't know. Scotty doesn't know.
Oh, who was the last name you said?
Xander Bogaerts.
Is it him?
It is Xander Bogaerts. Yes. He currently has a 699 OPS. Last year was 688. He's hitting .243, 3 homers, 6 steals. Plate discipline is okay. Man, this is going to be, this is the worst contract in baseball. This is going to be so bad, but
yeah. It was obvious at the time.
It is,
13 years for a 30-year-old shortstop.
Is there any chance of him getting back on track here? Or is it just, I don't know.
Well, it depends what you mean by back on track. I think he's probably still the same guy he was the first 2 years in San Diego. I've had to keep moving him down in the rankings just because other second baseman and shortstop are hinting at more upside than I think Bogaerts has at this stage of his career. But he's going to finish with between 15 and 20 homers, 15 and 20 steals, and a decent batting average.
What do you think that batting average gets up to?
I think it'll be over 270 would be my guess. Yeah.
Probably more 260 range, but I think he'll be a little bit better. I mean, he's been pretty bad so far. I don't think he'll be much better, but maybe like a 750 OPS, 260 hitter. Yeah, probably more steals than home runs the rest of the way that he's been trending. But I think we'll get slightly better days here from Xander Bogaerts. All right, next up, I hit 324 in April, but I am now batting 188 in May. And here are your options: Jose Altuve, Wyatt Langford, Bryson Stott, and Bryce Terang.
Wow, just imagine if these weren't multiple choice. Well, I know Wyatt Langford has dropped off a bit, so I'm going to say Wyatt Langford. I had a feeling it wasn't Wyatt Langford.
The answer is Bryce Terang, who overall is still hitting 289. He's got 3 homers, 32 runs scored, 9 steals. Expected stats still look okay. 269 XBA, 403 X slug. What do you think, Scott?
Is this another fooled you?
Is it?
From Bryce Terang? Bring in a little Adam Azer sound drop there. Well, you know why I was feeling bullish about him after the season started. Average exit velocity way higher. Max exit velocity a couple miles per hour higher. So like he is genuinely hitting the ball harder. It's not just he happens to be barreling up more during a hot streak. Like I think there has been actual strength gain and bat speed gain. Verifiable bat speed gain. We know that now. So I'm not panicking with Bryce Terang, but I did have him as a bust coming into the year. And so maybe he fooled me. Maybe I was right on in the first place and then he fooled me and now I cannot get credit for it. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not panicking.
Average exit velocity for Bryce Terang in April was 92.3. So far in May, it is 86.
It's about the same as last year, yeah.
I don't know.
We'll see.
We shall see. From 2022 through 2024, I had an ISO of 231. This season, my ISO is down to 133. Anthony Santander.
Whoa, what was the range of dates again? Sorry.
From 2022 to 2024. So the 3 seasons before this.
Okay.
An ISO of 231.
Okay.
This season, my ISO is down to 133.
Okay.
Anthony Santander, Christian Walker. Christian Walker.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Vlad Jr. and Manny Machado. Santander, Walker, Vlad Jr., Machado.
I know Machado has just like 2 or 3 homers as good as he's been. So maybe he's the sneaky answer here. But the range of dates you gave, I'm going to say Christian Walker.
Yeah!
I would have lost $1 million a long time ago.
Christian Walker, man. I kind of gave him the benefit of the doubt the first month of the season because I thought, all right, maybe he's like playing through the oblique still and he's not right. The strikeout rate is up. The swinging strike rate is up. The power obviously is down. The barrel rate is down. I don't like maybe the oblique just kind of derailed him for the the first half of the season, whatever it might be. Or maybe he's just getting older, Scott. What do you think?
He could just be getting older. That is within the realm of possibility here. That's a possible explanation for what's going on. I'm not ready to say that's what's going on for Christian Walker. And it's because a lot of the skill indicators still look the same. He is striking out more, and that's a concern. I'm curious, is he swinging and missing more on fastballs? Because I feel like that's a pretty good indicator of age related decline. And I messed it up trying to look it up. Okay, let's see. 088 on fastballs so far.
Ugh.
With a swinging strike rate of 14%, which we haven't seen from him since 2021, a swinging strike rate that high on fastballs. So I don't know. It had been trending up every year, which doesn't necessarily invalidate it. I don't know. It's still inconclusive, but that is a data point that I don't like to see for Christian Walker.
The bat speed I just pulled up it's down a little bit from 89th percentile last year to 77th percentile this year, but it's still a pretty good mark though.
And I don't know, like we don't have enough history with bat speed for me to know how much that fluctuates over the year, you know?
Yeah, he's a toughie. Are you just holding on in a vacuum right now? Hold on to Christian Walker?
Yeah, I don't know what choice you have. I suppose in a really shallow league, if you picked up a Ben Rice or whatever, and you just need to free up a roster spot, it's
in a point
not
league,
unthinkable.
Would you just drop him for Rhys Hoskins, who's hot right now?
I mean, I do like Rhys Hoskins for next week. So if you're tired of losing, like we're talking about really shallow leagues where, you know, if Christian Walker turns things around, okay, you got a decent enough first baseman anyway. And anything of real size with a waiver wire that's pretty thin, then you couldn't even dream of dropping Walker. But in those shallow league scenarios, if you're just trying to get some production, and I don't think Walker's upside is so high, so unbelievably high, that you have to treat him as if he's untouchable.
All right. Well, we always manage to do this on a day with 6 games. We're going to go longer here on the podcast. So bonus content on a Kokomo Friday, but we saved the best for last. Now it's time for the weekly preview brought to you by Travis Matthew, apparel designed for confidence and comfort, no matter where the day takes you. The schedule for next week, we got lots of games next week. 18 teams with 6 games, 12 teams with 7 games. The Orioles, Red Sox, Guardians, Rockies, Tigers, Astros, Angels, Brewers, A's, Phillies, Pirates, and Mariners. I mentioned the Rockies in there. All 7 games are at home in Coors Field. They've got 4 against the Phillies and 3 against the Yankees. Scott, start or sit these 2 start? Unless you have something else.
I just wanted to say, yeah, it's great that the Rockies have 7 home games, but those pitching staffs you mentioned, Phillies and Yankees, pretty good. They got some tough matchups there in Colorado.
We're just excited for the Phillies and Yankees, Scott. That's what we're looking forward to at this point. Yeah. Starter or sit these 2-star pitchers. Kodai Senga, he's been money all year. We'll just mention he's got tough matchups at the Red Sox, home against the Dodgers. Do you just lock him in?
Yeah, you do. I don't know that he's as high end as his ERA suggests, but I can't imagine sitting him in a 2-start week.
Ryan Pepio, home for 2. Tough place to pitch for him against the Astros and Blue Jays.
He's been getting a lot better results recently, though, and those are 2 offensives that have struggled. So I think Pepio is not quite must start, but pretty close.
What about Chris Bassett, who is home against the Padres at Tampa? He's been a little shakier 4 of his last 5 starts.
I could see sitting him in a roto league, just depending what categories you're working on right now. But in most cases, I think you're going to start Bassett.
All right. What about, Aaron Nola is at Colorado and at the Athletics. We spoke about it yesterday. I know.
Yeah, I got him in the.
He might not be a 2-star pitcher, right? Is there something there?
Yeah, because he's scheduled to go Tuesday in a 7-game week, Tuesday, Sunday. But I noticed the pitchers that I flagged last week because they were going Tuesday, Sunday. They're still in line to start Sunday. So I don't know. I don't think the Phillies are really going to insert a 6th guy this week. So yeah, I think you can expect 2 starts from Aaron Nola. What you can expect.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Scott, he is back.
So much for that theory that it only happens on 3-man shows.
Say his name and he appears. Robo Scott.
What was I saying? Aaron Nola. I don't know what to expect in his 2 starts. Obviously, at Colorado, that's kind of scary. At Sacramento is kind of scary too. But I do have him in the second highest tier in the starting pitcher rankings. You don't have to do it if you don't really want to. He's not must start. But I think in most situations where I have Nola, I'm just going to keep running him out there come hell or high water, because we've been down this road with him enough times before, and the numbers always end up in a good enough place. If you start picking and choosing, you're going to miss out on some of the correction that comes.
All right, what about Brandon Pfaadt, who is at the Dodgers and at the Cardinals?
Points league only.
And it sounds like Walker Buehler is making his return, but he gets the Mets and the Orioles.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't think I'd do that.
No, I would not either. 2-star pitchers to add and stream for week 9, Scott. Who do you have here?
2-star pitchers to stream. At the top, we got Logan Henderson, as if we haven't talked about him enough. Struggling Orioles offense, and then the worst offense in baseball, the Pirates. That's who Henderson is scheduled to face. Gavin Williams, I think he has clearly picked things up strikeout-wise in recent starts. Saw better control last time out. I think for the upside, he's worth considering in 2-start weeks again. He gets the Twins and Tigers. Tomoyuki Sugano, we just talked about, Brewers and Red Sox, kind of a floor play there. Jose Soriano, 62% ground ball rate on the year. The results have been shaky, but you like that. And his last start was his best start so far. So he gets the Athletics and the Marlins, like that matchup, second matchup, especially for Soriano. Mitch Keller, dangerous. Reds and Brewers is who he's facing. Certainly in points leagues, you do it, because if he has one of his stinker starts, that the sort of starts that bring his ERA over 4, you can live with that. It's not going to follow you around forever. So 2-start week, Mitch Keller. I think he's pretty automatic in points leagues. And then finally, Will Warren, who we've talked about quite a bit lately because the strikeouts have been up. He has one of the best 4-seamers in terms of opponent's batting average and swinging strike rate, or whiff rate, I should say. And he also has a sweeper with 3,000 RPM. So interesting arsenal here for Will Warren, and 2 great matchups against the Rangers and the Rockies, who I'm considering a good matchup even in Colorado.
All right, Scott, what about the 1-star streamers? We've talked about 2 of them already today, AJ Smith-Shawver and Nick Martinez.
Yeah, Smith-Shawver goes against the Nationals again and went so well the first time. I'm inclined to play him again. Yusei Kikuchi gets the Marlins. Doesn't seem totally like Yusei Kikuchi yet, but I think you can trust him with that matchup. Nick Martinez at Pittsburgh, the way he came through against the White Sox, I'd expect him to come through against an even lesser offense since he's thrown more strikes. And finally, Jameson Taillon at Miami. Quality start machine, always a little dangerous, but if you're not going to use him in that matchup, you're not going to use him at all.
All right, what about the hitters? Best matchups for next week. We have the Phillies, Orioles, Angels, Pirates, and Brewers. The worst hitter matchups, Braves, Royals, Twins, Rays, and Nationals. Scott, who are your sleeper hitters for week 9?
So you mentioned the Orioles there second. And in their 7 games, nothing but righties. You know who that's good news for? Ryan O'Hearn, who has been awesome this year. Slowed down a little bit recently, but still a great strikeout rate, still the best pull air rate of his career. And you don't have to worry about him sitting with all those righties on the schedule. So he's my favorite, Ryan O'Hearn. Also, I like Rhys Hoskins, somehow only 59% rostered still, even though he's been excellent since mid-April. And his overall numbers look great now. Brewers have the 5th best matchup, as you mentioned. Trent Grisham. The Yankees are one of the teams playing in Colorado this week, and their other series is at Yankee Stadium. So probably Trent Grisham is going to slow down at some point, but I wouldn't bet on it happening this week. Kyle Stowers, I was a little reluctant to have him in my sleeper hitters last week because the Marlins matchups were iffy, and he seemed like maybe he was slowing down, but he's obviously come through in week 8. So I'm going to keep him on the list here in week 9. And maybe by week 10, he won't qualify for the list anymore because he'll be too rostered. Josh Young, been on a nice little homer binge here recently. The Rangers have pretty good matchups, including a series against the White Sox. Taylor Ward, also a little bit of a homer binge here recently. Angels have the 3rd best matchups. Ryan Mountcastle, I knew there was another Oriole in here. We talked about how good their matchups are. I think the toughest pitcher they're going to face is Logan Henderson. After that, Lucas Giolito. That is pretty bad. Yikes. And Mountcastle's been one of the biggest underachievers by the data this year. He's hitting the ball very hard. Actually, the highest pull air rate we've seen from him since that 2021 season when he homered 33 times. So I think better days are ahead for Mountcastle, and he has actually picked it up recently, batting over 300 in May. The power just needs to come. I think it will, looking at that data. We got to get a Philly in here since they have the best matchup. So Max Kepler is the choice. He's also a big underachiever, according to StatCast. Dalton Varsho, I mentioned the other day, his 2 home runs. That was Tuesday. 2 home runs, 113 miles per hour. Those are the 2 hardest hit balls of his career, and by a pretty good margin. So something's going on with him. Hopefully he'll start playing more consistently as he works his way back from surgery. And Blue Jays have no lefties on the schedule this week, so that should help. Finally, Jordan Beck, he has those tough pitchers he's facing in Colorado, but the splits favor him both at home, and the fact there are 4 lefties on the schedule for the Rockies. He has like a 970 OPS against lefties.
All right, that was the weekly preview brought to you by Travis Matthew, apparel designed for confidence and comfort no matter where the day takes you. Big fan of Travis Matthew. Check out this shirt. It's like a cloud waffle collection. It is maybe the most comfortable shirt I have ever worn in my life. It's kind of like a thermal, but even more comfy. It's awesome. Scott's wearing the Atlanta Braves Travis Matthew shirt. We've mentioned they have,
which my wife complimented me on today. I don't know that there is a bigger endorsement than that.
Very snazzy. Yeah, they have an MLB collection on their website too. Some really cool shirts, some polos, some graphic tees, a couple other things. So yeah, make sure to check that out. Big thanks to Travis Matthew for making clothes for any occasion that are not only comfy, but stylish as well. All right, Scott, let's wrap up with some leftovers here on the hitting side. CJ Abrams, 2 for 4 with a sock and a shoe. He's off to a great start this year. Ellie De La Cruz hit his 8th home run of the season. Matt McClain, 2 for 3 with his 6th home run. He has been dropped to 8th in the Reds lineup. Bo Bichette has been turning things up in May, 3 for 4 with a double. And Vlad Jr. hit his 5th home run, but we need more. We need more from Vlad Jr. Anything on this group of players?
Well, I thought we were about to get another visit from Robo Scott, so I was trying to ward him away as you were reading those names. But
I didn't see anything, so I think we're all right for now.
I'm sorry. I totally missed what you asked me about Vladimir Guerrero.
Just all the names in this hitting leftovers. Do you want to touch on any of them? Abrams, okay. Ellie, Matt McClain, Bo Bichette, Vlad Jr.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That is unprofessional of me. Not really. Just because I don't have anything amazing to say. I think I guess Bo Bichette's the one to focus on most here, because I've been saying the data looks great for him, even though I know people are probably worried because obviously he was coming off a disastrous season and we kept talking him up this spring, like, people are underrating him. Well, where are the results? Hopefully this is the start of it. 4 of his last 6 games, multiple hits. To give you the actual data, 318 expected batting average, of 511 expected slug. I mean, that's prime Bichette if he can just live up to those numbers. And he also has the highest pull air rate since his first 2 years in the majors, if you want to go look back at his power production then. So I think everything looks great for Bichette, and it's just a matter of letting it play out.
Did want to mention with CJ Abrams, he's hitting a lot more line drives this year. He's hitting the ball much harder. It's a career high barrel rate, and he's also hitting well against lefties, which is very notable. He's hitting .310 with an .832 OPS CJ Abrams is against left-handed pitching this season. One pitching left over. Kevin Gausman had a rough one against the Rays, 5 2/3, 10 hits, 6 runs allowed, 3 homers in this one, but 16 whiffs on 101 pitches. His average exit velocity against was 84. The velocity was up in this one. I totally get that it was a bad result, but I thought that there were some encouraging signs like under the hood here for Gausman.
Man, I can't figure out what's going on with Gausman because he was at his best when the splitter wasn't doing anything for him. The splitter starts coming around here. He's getting whiffs with it again. Got 7 whiffs with it in this one. But pretty much coinciding with the stretch where the splitter's getting whiffs again, his ERA has gone from 2.49 to 4.59. So, and it's not, even though the splitter's getting whiffs, it's sort of like with Nick Lodolo's curveball. It gets whiffs sometimes, but not with the movement we're used to seeing from it, which makes me wonder how legitimate those whiffs are. And when the results aren't there, I don't know. I'm pretty worried about Gausman.
He definitely is a tough one to figure out. I just thought there were some nice things like under the hood for this start, but yeah, overall he is pretty confusing. He's got a 4.59 ERA, but a 1.06 WHIP. Like those things don't line up, and he is a confusing one. Home against the Padres next week. I don't think it's a must-start pitcher, but if you drafted Gausman, you might not have anything better. So I totally
1-star Gausman or 2-star Nola, Frank?
Oh gosh, neither. Just give up. I think I'd use Gausman, honestly.
Okay. I'd go Nola, but I understand.
Call to the bullpen for your Braves. Scott Raisel Iglesias picked up his 7th save, and he needed that one. It's been a shaky start this year. And then for the Rangers, Luke Jackson and Chris Martin are both dealing with injuries. It was Sean Armstrong who got the 9th inning with a 1-run lead. He allowed a walk, but picked up his 2nd save of the week. 1% rostered. Any deep league interest in a Sean Armstrong?
Somebody's got to close games if those injuries linger. But yeah, I don't think it would be a long-term scenario even if it happened, and I don't think we can trust that Sean Armstrong is the replacement. Anyway,
to stream or not to stream on Friday, we have Shane Smith at the Cubs, Cade Horton facing the White Sox, Bowden Francis home against the Tigers, Andre Palante at the Royals, Stephen Kolek home against the Mariners, JP Sears at the Giants, Andrew Heaney at the Phillies.
Yeah, so JP Sears in San Francisco, I think that's a good fit for his skill set, fly ball pitcher. And Cade Horton, not sure he'll go deep enough for the win against the White Sox, but the per inning production should be good.
Saturday is a tough one. We've got Clark Schmidt against the Mets, Jake Irvin at the Orioles, Giolito facing the Braves, Severino at the Giants, Landon Arup versus the Athletics, Tyler Anderson at the Dodgers.
Woof.
Yeah. Don't love it.
If you're making me pick somebody, Giolito.
I was going to say put my Homer hat on and maybe go with Schmidt, but it could go poorly against the Mets.
I was putting my anti-Homer hat on. Giolito against the Braves.
Yeah.
Yeah. Schmidt. Yeah. I think those are the top 2 choices, but you probably should stream nobody from Saturday. Not start nobody from Saturday because there are probably some good pitchers going Saturday, but
yeah,
from the streamer selection, nobody.
And then on Sunday, we have Jack Leiter facing the Astros. We have Mike Soroka at the Orioles, Colin Ray facing the White Sox, Jeffrey Springs at the Giants, Verlander versus the Athletics.
Colin Ray against the White Sox. Let's close out this recommended 2-start week strong.
Mm-hmm.
And then drop Ray because he's not actually good. Do I want anybody else from this group? I guess Verlander against the Athletics is probably okay.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be surprised if Leiter has an okay start just because the Astros without Yordan Alvarez, it's a pretty good matchup right now, but I don't love it. That would be my second name, but yeah, I'd rather just go with Colin Ray if you need a player for Sunday. We are going to wrap there. For Scott, I am Frank. Thanks as always for tuning in to Fantasy Baseball today. Please make sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify. And we will be back again next week. Bye-bye.